Chandan, thank you for joining in this, Bugs program for ID, uh,
Mm.
where we learn to invest with discipline. Thank you for being a part of this program and trusting us with your investment journey.
Thank you, Vikas, for hosting me. Yeah, I am Chandan. I'm in software development, currently working at Adobe. Yeah, I've been working for last, I think, 15, 16 years now. Yeah, yeah. Now coming to Bugs program, although I was very interested into personal financing right from the start, but how to start or continue in the stock market. So at that point of time, I did some analysis on my own, invested some amount in some mutual funds and then some stocks, which I realized, and then I held on to that stock for quite a long time. I think I sold them last year.
Okay.
I could have continued with regular investment into mutual fund, either manually or through SIP. I missed that part. But coming to stocks, I was not comfortable with like just going. I had some reasons. I saw, some news about some companies that had bought their price and analysis. Although I didn't have much idea at that point of time, just looking at graph and
Mhm.
ups and downs, I thought, okay, now it has come down. This is the right time to buy. It will go up. The part that was missing is that. Right from the start, I was convinced about just buying and holding stocks. That can work well with mutual fund, and only because the fund house does transaction for you. Simply buying and holding stocks for long term, you could be lucky with a couple of multi-baggers. But let's say if you had 10 stocks and two of them turn out to be multi-bagger, it increased three, four-fold. And others lagged or didn't follow. Eventually, your returns, will not be great.
Definitely.
And that's the reason that people say that most of the investors fail to beat mutual funds, or even most of the fund houses fail to consistently beat some fixed logic like index funds, where you don't have to put any of your logic into it. So now coming to bugs for so I started thinking about it seriously, and I had some idea. So the first idea was to start with SIPs, yearly SIPs, and then experimenting with some stocks again. And that was time I was looking to get into it, and we had a conversation, and I thought, yeah, why not just start with this? And since then, it's been great learning for me. Couple of things that stand out. First is that it gave me a direction. I could understand the thinking behind it, and we had several discussions about those. So, and of course, my conviction that just holding stocks is not good. So you need to have, transactions, because
You mean take advantage of the volatility, is it?
yeah, this one particularly works on that. But even if, let's say, there will be some stocks that will go up, some will go down, some will keep moving sideways. And if you just hold on to that, so your return will not be great. So by transaction, I mean that you have to pick out moments or stocks. Okay, now this is not going well. Let's exit from this. Put it into something that is growing, and something has started falling. Let's exit from here. Wait for uh, its fall before taking decision to take entry again. So things like that. So yeah, when I started, so I had that kind of idea, but then getting through the Bugs program, I got that systematic plan around it. And recently, I tried a few things with ETF. I didn't go into stocks directly because I wanted to validate those ideas first, and it's been working fine. So I'm trying to get add a couple of stocks as well there.
So yeah, I think you summarized. Tell us something about your experience specifically with the Bugs program. So what were your thoughts when you joined? Obviously, we've been talking about this even before we
Hmm.
started off. So yeah. So you had an idea. Tell us what were you thinking? What were your expectations? And how close, how far from the expectations? What did you learn? So something around specifically around the Bugs program. So if you can even talk about that. So what has been your learnings?
Okay. The first thing is that let's say. instead of you, I had someone else calling about it, and let's say everything being same, probably I would not have trusted because given the kind of influences that we have in the
on
world
each
right
other.
now, everyone is expert and influencer, so it's very difficult to pick right people from there and trust them, and particularly when it comes to your money. And given that the track record that even most of the serious investors like don't necessarily beat a simple index fund all the time. So yeah, one thing that really helped is that we knew each other for long, and I had a trust factor built into it. When you said that you had already been running it with your own money for last 5 years, I had no reason to not believe it.
Mm-hmm.
And the way we started, so okay, so we started with I think 1.5 lakh rupees.
Mm-hmm. A small
So
amount.
and one thing that stand out that you said that consider this as a learning fund.
Yeah,
So even
education
if you
money.
don't,
Yeah.
yeah, education money. So even if you don't make money, just consider that whatever loss you got, so that went into tuition fee.
Mm-hmm.
Although that didn't happen,
Yeah. Yeah.
thankfully. But even if that would have happened, I was mentally prepared for it. And there is no shortcut. So unless you
Absolutely.
get into the things, you won't learn just by reading or analyzing things. So that's why it helped me. And couple of things that really stood out is behavioral things. Initially, when I was placing orders, particularly when after a transaction I had to place another order. So there was a few times where I think this the same stock got transacted twice. So then it's like, okay, the system was telling me some price, and I saw okay, it is already right about there. So
Mm-hmm.
maybe if I place a little bit higher, I'll get more money. And most of the time it worked because I didn't go much higher. A couple of times it didn't because then the price just stayed for the
Flat.
day just below there to that point or backed off. But one thing after doing it for a few times, I realized, okay, I mean, what exactly I'm doing. Okay,
Mm-hmm.
so just some penny, maybe 5-10 rupees in a transaction, and
Absolutely.
I have to constantly watch it until it gets transacted and follow it, and it doesn't really make sense to spend my
Mm-hmm.
time like even if let's say cumulatively I only had to spend 15-20 minutes and for 5-10 rupees,
Mm-hmm.
even if that was let's say 50 100, still that wouldn't make sense. So
Absolutely.
so the behavioral part that whatever strategy you have, you just follow it.
Absolutely.
You work on your strategy, not micro optimizing
That's
those gains or losses. So that was the first major behavioral I mean
learning.
things that yeah that I learned through it. So it's very tempting to just try to
Absolutely.
make 1 rupees extra per share.
So yeah, I think you're rightly said. Optimizing for every penny. I mean, you don't
Yeah,
realize when you, and in fact, it sort of eats up into your profits also. So just optimizing 5-10 paise each time, it quickly adds up. So you rightly said, if you have a process, sticking to your process is very important. So you started off with the assumption it will help you in certain things. These were your assumptions, like, and it will take off the load from you to on a day-to-day basis optimize or help you with your time to
mm.
invest. Did you achieve those objectives, or anything? And obviously, as you said, the behavioral piece.
Yeah, sure. So I mean initially we were running that GTT orders, and on transaction I was placing orders, and it was easy because I think I still have 10 around 10 stocks in this program. So and the transactions happens infrequently. So it felt easier at that point of time to just introduce new transaction whenever the
Necessary.
previous one gets executed. But later when I started with the daily placing order daily, so that then I realized, okay, I mean that brings a discipline. And nowadays I know that around 6:30 or so I'll get a message that okay, orders are ready for tomorrow, and then it just takes a minute or so to log in to my account and place order. And that way, I mean, it helps in that I have a look at the prices movement at that point of time, even if I didn't have a time to look into market in the day. So that is another part. So basically. what I realized is not realized, it's a universal truth that discipline beats talent or
Absolutely,
analysis,
absolutely.
anything, hands down. So, and that is the main thing that I got from this program. And when I started experimenting with a couple with my own logics.
Just for the benefit of listeners here, so Chandan was a part of this program even before we had the entire product. So that was manually at that time, and most of the orders used to go out as a GTT. But then, as we built the product, fine tuned the product, things became more or less automated. But Chandan, for a few months, did continue with the manual process because he found that one more convenient at that point of time. And then gradually, so as we were talking about the discipline, that
Mm.
discipline came, and then finally, using the entire automated process that we have today. So yeah, that has been
Mm.
your journey. So tell us one thing which you find the most important feature or this thing about ID from your expectations, from whatever you have learned about investing so far. And you already talked about the behavioral piece. So
Mm.
anything, one thing which stands out to you.
It's really great for stocks which is high volatility because
Great.
that's what it leverages. It doesn't work that well, although it still generates alpha, but stocks with high volatility, particularly in mid cap and small cap sections. I mean, you also need to be careful that the stocks has a good base. But if you
When you
run
say
this program
base,
on,
yeah, when you say base, you mean fundamentally.
yes,
So,
yeah,
say,
yeah,
okay.
fundamentally solid base. And by nature, they're like small companies, they will have higher fluctuations compared to, let's say, SBI or SGFC. So, and there it works really great. On the flip
Absolutely.
side, it doesn't work that well with the stocks, which is very stable. So there, I mean, you'll have very infrequent transactions when a stock has moved up or down a bit. And large caps, yeah, doesn't they move very slowly. They do fluctuate that, but their fluctuation range is very small. And
Mhm.
one limitation I have found is that it doesn't have challenge when stocks move in one direction, whether
Mhm.
it's going up or down. So there the
Absolutely.
system struggles to keep up. Either it will sell everything aggressively or it will buy aggressively. So there I think yeah. So that is one scenario where thankfully the market doesn't behave that way.
Mhm.
Yeah, so there could be one or two stocks which say has risen up significantly or fallen down.
Absolutely.
So yeah, so there like it gets into negative alpha as well.
Absolutely, absolutely. So yeah, like you said, there's no magic wand around it. Purely on the performance of the stocks and stocks which tend to move unidirectionally. It's in fact in my entire portfolio there would be 4 or 5% of the holdings stocks where it would have been better to stay out of keep that out of ID. So
Mm.
you're right. So there are cases where ID alpha is negative.
Yeah, but in those cases, even as an
The only thing
investor,
I can add there is that information is hindsight.
yeah, exactly. That I was coming to that. So even as a investor, let's say if you're following any strategy, like I mean that case is still difficult to handle. People work with stop loss or threshold for gain, but even in that case, a stop loss will help you protect your money after a certain point. But let's say it moved into positive direction. So you'll liquidate your money and lose out on the further gain.
Yes, absolutely. So yeah, you have answered even the question. One shortcoming of IDs, rightly mentioned. There's no magic wand. It works on volatility. And finally, Chandan. So for anyone new starting out there, starting to dabble with the equity market, direct equity, if you had to advise yourself, let's say 10 years ago,
Okay.
okay, what would you have done differently, or what would have been your advice? Just put yourself in that shoe, so that will be helpful for a lot of new
Mm.
investors who are planning to thinking about starting this journey.
Okay. So let's say if you don't know Vikas, then it's hard to trust anyone, and that is very fair. Like there are so many people just advising or running programs, and they most of them don't do well. So, but one thing I'll say that you have to have a process. Either you have it yourself or you work with someone who can help you with the process. As simple as like if you If you're very new to market and don't have much idea, simply follow mutual funds. And even there, like you can experiment with thematic funds or sectorial thematic funds, but probably you'll do well initially with index funds. Index funds anyway, I mean, beats almost most of the funds anyway. So, and simply because I mean they follow a fixed strategy. They simply track and keep their investment close to the index. And I mean, if you just think about it, a very simple process that okay, this is the ratio in which the 50 stocks are arranged. You just have to keep your portfolio aligned to that, and that
Absolutely.
a very basic strategy as that beats more than 95% of the any active funds. So here the process or strategy is very important. Start with that. Like if you're watching this video interview, you can connect with Vikas. You can start with a small fund, couple of stocks, and learn along the way. I'll say from my experience, I mean, I mean, more than gains, you'll have many learnings. I, I mean, it generates a decent alpha as well. Like even for, I think my alpha is even higher. But as Vikas had mentioned a couple of, I mean, few times, that in last 6 years he has consistently generated about 10% alpha, and that is a really really good number. Um, I mean, you can start with the small funds, but let's say even if you don't know Vikas and you don't want to trust him straight away, my advice is that follow some strategy. Don't just randomly get into market.
Absolutely.
Market is very ruthless. It punishes, I mean, particularly retail small investors very badly if you don't have a good strategy,
Absolutely. Absolutely.
and that creates a very strong deterrent for people. I think one of the reasons that not many people are in stocks.
Well said, Chandan. I think what you last said uh, about your journey or anybody new is summarized in this quote I read somewhere, which says, rather than trying to be intelligent and smart, good investors are people who try to avoid obvious mistakes. So rather than
Yes.
trying to find the best, this thing, what's the bare minimum we need to do not to sort of lose our capital. So if people have that sort of, so starting with the strategy, stick to your process. I think that's very well summarized. So Chandan, thank you so much for this. If you have any parting thoughts, but thank you for being a part of this journey.
Thanks, Vikas. I have had nice time, nice learning, and hope to continue going forward.
Thank you so much.